real difference maker in orthodontics isn't tech or even treatment. It's the experience that patients have with your practice. Welcome to the Grow Ortho live stream. I'm your host, Zach Dykes, and I'm joined by Melissa Gardner, HIP's very own practice advisor. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Zach. I always enjoy an invitation.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. You're our second two-peat. The only other person that's come on twice has been James. So you're now in the exclusive club. We don't have like the fancy jackets that SNL has once you hit the five, but
like a master's jacket, like maybe like a nice orange one, you know?
Maybe I can sweet talk somebody into getting us some of those. Well, in today's stream, we're talking about what it means to stay truly patient-centric. From the first impression when someone walks through your door to keeping care consistent through treatment to finishing strong with retention. We'll break down how the small things like a warm hello, a quick check-in, celebrating milestones can completely shape the patient journey and set your practice apart in this competitive market. Now, Melissa, before we jump into the meat and taters, as I like to say, tell everybody about yourself and your experience within the orthodontic industry.
Absolutely. Been on before. So if you haven't seen one before, I've spent over 20 years in dental and orthodontics. I started out as a clinical assistant. I moved into clinical director. I then took over into the TC role as well as helping with the front desk. So I've got the opportunity to kind of dip into every little aspect of ortho. And then I had the opportunity to actually work with HIP at a practice here in my hometown of Amarillo, Texas, and fell in love with everything that we do and everything that they did for us. And I've now been working with HIP for almost 3 years now. So it's been an amazing ride. I've got to do a lot of amazing things, meet a lot of amazing teams, and I just love the field. I love orthodontics. I love dentistry as a whole. We work with smiles all day, and I don't know any other better jobs than that for sure.
Well, Melissa, you've been in the front lines, and I think that's important, especially for our topic today, talking about patient-centric care, because so many times we get bogged down in the features, the bits and the bobs and all of that, where we can get kind of blinded by the actual experience that our patients are going through. So, Melissa, why do you think being patient-centric goes way beyond just straightening their teeth?
Well, really, it's all about what we're changing in their lives, right? So everyone carries their smile with either confidence or lack thereof. For years for myself, I didn't love my teeth. I didn't carry myself with the same confidence. I didn't pursue the same things maybe I would now. And so whenever we think about what we're really doing is we're affecting someone's life, we're building their confidence, we're creating a smile that they're going to carry from their graduation to their wedding, to their first child, to their family photos, to every single aspect that's going to affect their life. And so whenever we think about the fact that we're having such a large impact outside of drilling and filling as a general dentist or changing a wire as an orthodontist, we really have to remember that people are our business. We can focus on the teeth, we can focus on the technology, we can focus on the processes and all of those things, which are important. But the reality is, if we lose sight of the people that are utilizing those things, then we really lose sight of our whole entire business, our whole business model, and everything that we're doing within our career. So I think we just have to remember to keep it baseline and remember that people are what matter.
It's so easy to get inundated with putting out fires. You're focusing on this case and then you're jumping to this case, or I've got to make sure that I close this many people. Oh, we got this many same day starts, or we have a no-show and all of that. It's very easy to get bogged down in the minutia of it all. And when someone comes in, are you actually showing up for them? Because when it comes down to it, it's a human experience, and you are dealing with one of the most sensitive parts of the body People fear going to the dentist more than, death itself a lot of times. So in your eyes, how does like focusing on the full patient experience really make a orthodontic or dental practice stand out today?
I think it's everything that makes them stand out. I mean, the reality is, I've been into many offices, I've worked with many teams, successful, unsuccessful, new, old, established, all of those different aspects. But the places that see the most growth and the most potential are those that not only carry from what their brand and their culture and their vibe and their team are, but what every single aspect of their office. How does it lighted? How is it painted? How does it feel? Do you have the comforts of, a nice warm welcome, like you say, or does everyone greet you? Do they remember things about you? And so whenever you start to think about where do I want my child to be seen, or who am I going to rave about, people are either going to talk about their best experience or their worst. They're not going to talk about the ones in the middle. If you become mundane and kind of plateau and just get by with getting by, then you're not necessarily going to fail, but you're definitely not going to thrive. You're not going to take that business to the next level. And so in order to be competitive and really stand out amongst all of the opportunities and other competitors that you have in this space, you have to make that experience truly leave an impression, and a good one at that, not a bad impression. So it's really everything to be a competitive market. People are going to rave about it. They're going to experience it, and they're going to want other people to experience it with them. So I think that that's really what's going to make you stand out. You can have great marketing, you can have great team members, you can have great systems and technologies and things like that, but if you don't make me feel good whenever I walk in your doors and I don't leave excited about what just happened, because let's be realistic, I'm going to leave and I'm going to be sore from my wire change, or I'm going to be numb from the injection. So I'm not already leaving with a great, mindset in that aspect. But if I left feeling great because of the interactions I have, you're gonna succeed every time. Your business is gonna blossom.
It reminds me, there's a restaurant in town, and I've been there since like I was literally like 8. So I've been like, I'm 35 now, and the owner knows my whole family. And anytime he sees me, like we have like an actual conversation, and he knows like my history and what I order. Like all the people there know exactly what I order, what I want to drink. My wife, the same thing. And just because like you could easily take that for granted that, oh, well, they'll come back. Well, him knowing who I am, who my parents are, who my wife is, and the waiters taking care of me, not just because it's Zach, but it's, oh, I'm going to serve them at the utmost. I'm going to go the extra mile. And yeah, sometimes you're not going to feel like going the extra mile. Is that the time when the new person's going to see, oh man, they didn't really treat me the best?
Right. Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, you love the food, and I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you have poor service, if you went in there every time and they never refilled your drink and they never were kind to you, I mean, you might order it to go, but you're not going to keep coming back and keeping those servers busy, keeping the people that make the blood life of that actual establishment go. And so that's just a testament to it, that the reality is we go for a service, but we stay for the feeling. We stay for the emotions tied to it. We stay for the way that people interact with us.
So I want to jump into what you like to call like the little things, like the things that like really stand out for a patient. Can you go into a little bit on like how we could implement that within a practice, and why do they even matter?
Absolutely. It starts from, like you said, the very first call, how that interaction goes on the phone, how you're welcoming, asking about their day, making sure that you're interjecting those normalcies and politenessness. But the other side of that is, a coffee bar, or, the toothbrushing station. Everything's bright and clean and feels welcoming and makes you want to be there. It could be something as, I had a practice once that had a specific scent that they always used in their office. And it was something that they had actually done psychologically and looked into that drew people to make them more comfortable. I walked into a practice that had a board, and every day they wrote, "Welcome to our practice." And they would list the new patients, and they would say, "Congratulations on your braces," and list them. So as soon as you walked in, you were already prioritized as someone who was important and special in that manner, or people getting their braces off. Um, Making notes on your patients whenever they're in the clinic. We know that, we want to be efficient. We're going to know which wires are coming in and we're going to process through those things. But what if I asked you about your football game that I knew you had, or your prom, or your wedding, or your aunt's birthday that you had to go to that you really didn't want to? But I mean, all of those little things, making little notes inside of a chart so that your doctor can be able to remember and look at those, so that your team is, paying attention to that you may not see the same assistant. So it's those little things that are going to brighten someone's day. Think about something that someone did for you that was so simple. Whenever I'd pay with cash and someone say, oh, don't worry about that 5 cents. I mean, it was 5 cents, but it was like, oh, I don't have to break $1 and carry around change. It was something that made me smile, something so simple, but someone that just went out of their way to do a little touch. And so setting the tone of those things in your office, from remembering key pieces, even if someone gets the same color every time that they come in, maybe notate that. Oh, are we going with Till again? Just making sure that you're really honing in on each person and what's important to them, and making that feel really good every single time that they walk in. It's really simple. It's small, simple, tiny little things that may seem mundane and overdone at some point, but I promise you it matters. It sinks into those patients and they remember that small experience that kind of changed their dynamic or even changed their day. What if they're having a really bad day and you reminded them of something great that they had just experienced 6 weeks ago since the last time they saw you, and it changes their outlook on their day. So it's really simple things, from the feel of your office to the amenities that you offer, to everyone knowing people's name when they walk in and knowing those little things about them, that you can just change that little bit of a dynamic and make a huge impact.
And I think when you look at this, it's like, how would you want to be treated in that instance?
Yeah.
Would you want to be just a number or just going through an assembly line? Like, how would you want to be viewed and handled, taken care of, going through the same process? Would you want them to know that, man, I know you just lost your grandmother, how are you doing? Something where there's a human connection, because my God, we do not have enough of that with, phones and all of that. We are connected, but we're not having a human connection. We're, shelling it out to AI all the time now.
That is I was just thinking that in my mind as you were talking, in a day and age where we have self-checkout. I love going to my grocery store and I love talking as they're checking out my groceries, talking and bantering back and forth, because we're human and we all thrive and drive and strive for that human connection. And convenience is great. And there's sometimes where I just want to go straight to the self-checkout and get my 5 items and move on with my life. But in a day where we have AI answering every phone, and then you have to try to tell them what you need so they'll direct you to the right person versus just someone who can handle your objection or your problem right then and there. Self-checkouts where you're doing everything. We are living in a world of convenience. And believe me, I love convenience. However, I do love that human aspect that really changes the tide in what we experience in our day to day. And those little things do matter. And I think that we're starting to see that more. I think we kind of strove to a place where we all wanted technology and convenience and ease of access and all of those things. And now that we've achieved it to some great extent, we're all starting to realize the impact that that's had whenever we're missing out on that little human piece, that connection, that smile, that genuine, question of how are you today? So I was totally thinking that exact same thing as you were going through there, thinking about, oh yeah, I check out my own groceries and I, order everything off Amazon, and I have to hit 1 or 5 or 7, 20 times to get to a human being. And so it's definitely a factor that will stand out and make an impact in your business.
So let's jump into the first impression. When someone steps into the door, they walk in for the first time, what is the first impression you want them to have within the practice?
So because we're in the healthcare industry, I think the number one thing is a clean, bright, welcoming environment. That will set a tone before you even make it to that front desk, right? If you walk into somewhere and it's dark and it's dingy or a little dirty, or, just doesn't feel welcoming and open, it's not necessarily somewhere you want to go sit and open your mouth wide and see what they're going to, find inside there. So I think that that's honestly your initial thing. You want a welcoming space that feels good, clean, and like somewhere that isn't necessarily clinical, but clean enough that it could be, you know. The second thing is that smiling face, right? That person who greets. Um, I took my son into an urgent care, and I totally get it. They're mass volume, very busy. But you walk in and it is clean and it is a clean environment and it's bright, but there's no one there to greet you. There's a piece of paper
Mm.
with a sign in. Nobody says hi to you. And so you start to just go through the motions, and it's not necessarily somewhere you want to go back. I mean, you're there out of convenience, but you're not really enjoying it. And so I would say first impression is how I feel when I walk in your office, and I feel like I want to be there and feel comfortable to have, you know, my teeth worked on or my child worked on. And then the second is someone greeting me, someone making me feel welcome, making me feel valued, and knowing that I'm going to be cared for and taken care of in that first instance. So those are going to be the two biggest impacts. Um, you know, there's also nothing worse than walking in and someone's on the phone, and you know they kind of greet you, kind of don't, and it's very disconnected, and you don't know if you should say hi, or you're kind of waiting there to ask what to do. And so that first person that's there, I'm a huge fan of, you know, phones in the back, or phones, you know, maybe in a different area, because everybody's on their phones all the time. And so if I'm there, I want to be greeted, I want to be acknowledged, and I want to be taken care of. And so those are the two biggest things on that initial first impression that are going to really make or break the decision on whether anything you do past that point is going to matter at all.
Yeah, and going a step further on that is, does your, like, coming up to your building, is it clear where people are supposed to go?
Can I find
Because
it? Is there a sign? You
yeah,
know,
welcome here, like, you know, enter here, something, you know, because when you go to a place for the first time, you're going to feel very self-conscious and awkward. It's like, am I in
yes.
the right place? Am I, like, are they gonna, like, this, that, and the other? They're like, your walls are up, like you were like on high alert. And if when you walk through that door, you feel, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, someone's greeting you, it's not that glass window. My God. I don't go to this dentist anymore. It was my childhood dentist. It was the glass, and I'm like, and it was like old wood and like all of this, like it felt very like dark and kind of, you know, it just
You
felt kind
shall
of,
not pass. Like you can't. Yeah, you're
yeah.
blocked out.
And now, like the dentist that I go to, it's very warm, it's very open. They've got, you know, some water if you want water. Like they make sure you're taken care of. You feel like you're a part of this environment. You're not just oh, we'll get to you when we get to you.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the other side of that, speaking to like the exterior, I don't know if you use Google Maps or Siri very often, but occasionally they get a little confused. And so it's really great if you do have, like you said, like that confidence of this is where you are, we're here, we're loud, we're going to take care of you. Like, so I do agree that those are key pieces that may not seem the most important whenever you're thinking about the healthcare of people's teeth, but they are hugely impactful on, you know, patients coming in and patients sticking around.
So now that we've kind of got them into the practice, everything's going kind of well. We're getting them, you know, pass records. Everything's, you know, stellar at that point. But we're in the treatment coordinator room. What is the difference between just presenting treatment and setting the standard that sticks with the
Yeah.
patient?
Well, I mean, we all know that the TC room is my favorite room. So it's definitely so impactful on everything running smoothly, right? So this is the first interaction that's setting the standard of how you're going to be cared for the remainder of your treatment. So if things feel discombobulated, like you're getting put in this room, but no, I need you to come over here, and then you're sitting here and you're sitting alone and no one's engaging with you, and you don't, I mean, think about this. You're nervous, you're maybe scared even, or maybe you're super excited, right? Like even that, like say you're super excited, if no one's there engaging that, acknowledging that, hyping that up, or trying to help you dispose of those fears and concerns, it can be really scary and uncomfortable. And so the number one thing is to always ensure that you have a streamlined process behind the people so that everything runs smoothly, efficiently. It builds confidence and trust. They feel like, okay, they know what they're doing. They've got their things together. They brought me back immediately. This is going to be a great place to be. But the other side of that is having that TC that is going to interact. Um, not everybody's maybe excited to be there. I'm going to find out why, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to find out a reason to be excited. Maybe it's, transitioning into the colors, or maybe it's transitioning into the outcome, right? So maybe right now it's not fun, but you have to engage with them. Everybody has a wall to some extent in any interaction, but with the right place, the right space, the right tone, the right true reason behind it, you can break down those walls and you can give them a reason to be excited, or you can continue their excitement. And so that's going to be a huge aspect of, am I going to start treatment with you? If everything felt really great and I walked in, but then I'm left alone, or I'm not acknowledged and I'm not really hyped up, then, we just have so many opportunities, I feel like, to lose patients. We really do. And if we really hone in on the people that we're working with, and really make them the rock star, and really hone in on what their needs are, we will never lose those opportunities, because we'll always be focused on them. And so that's definitely the biggest space and place that we have to make that impact. We need to be patient facing. Don't leave them alone. Be engaged with them. Find something to communicate. Even if it's not talking about braces, maybe you just ask them about their school or their day, get them where they're opening up, and then you can kind of transition into that space. So it's definitely hugely impactful to really make them the star of the show when they're in that TC room.
Yeah, creating the atmosphere that they're the hero of the story, and you're helping them along that journey. I think about going to just like a medical doctor's office. I love the place that I go, but it's kind of the same thing where you wait in the waiting room, you wait for a while, then you get, back there, and the nurse practitioner, like, oh, what's wrong, blah, 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 blah. And you've already told somebody this on the phone. That's why you're there. And then they leave you alone for, sometimes 10, 15. I've had like 45-minute waits before when I'm in the room. And man, that starts, racking up on your mind, where it's like, am I like, is my blood work that bad? Am I going to die?
Am I an anomaly? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something, you start catastrophizing in your head, and then the doctor comes in and it's like, oh, tell me what's going on. And it's like, what I just told the other person. It's like, like having some kind of handoff, and like making the patient feel like they are the only thing that matters in that space and time. Man, it's going to bring down the walls. It's going to make them feel like I do matter. They're here for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes, so I always kind of look at this, it's leaving someone alone in silence and letting their brain take control over what could be being said. Is, are they talking about my teeth? Did I brush my teeth? Like, is almost the equivalent of someone, going, whatever they look at your x-ray and they go, oh, like, I mean, that's a little bit more blunt in your face, but in the same reality, we're now allowing you to your own devices to interpret why we're gone so long. So definitely making that transition handoff and all being on the same page. I mean, the reality is, especially in orthodontics, they're here for braces. It's very simple. We don't have to ask those same questions. Having that TC handoff and say, hey, you know what, this is Jacob. He's super excited about braces. He's a little bit nervous because he plays football, but he's really looking forward to having these off and done by his senior year. That's a perfect hand. You can do it right in front of them. It doesn't have to be secretive behind doors and, kind of come in. Making that handoff and making that transition right there in front of them puts them at ease, builds confidence that you listened and heard, and then also gives that doctor a straight opportunity to go straight into what they need to, because now they know exactly what they're facing. So I do agree that handoff is so key. That transition, not asking the same questions every time you see someone, is really important as well.
So let's say, they've been started, they've had braces on, and we're getting into like the mid-treatment visits. That could be very routine feeling. Like, what can practices do like with those visits to actually make the patient feel like it's still kind of the pizzazz, make it feel something?
Yeah. I think we're going to circle a little bit back around to what I touched on a little bit earlier. It's we know them, right? They're our patient. We should be excited to see them every single time. You know, obviously, we're excited to see new patients. We got new opportunities, but these are our patients. These are the people who are going to represent whether they bring in more people, whether more people come to us. So acknowledging them, remembering them. I am, like I said, a huge fan of notes, 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 notes. I mean, we're going to go back. I promise you, you're going to go back and look at what was done last time, what type of rubber bands they're wearing, what wire they're in. So in a different color or italicized or however you want to do that in your notation system, a simple note of what was discussed at that last appointment that's ongoing in their life is going to change that aspect because you're going to be able to ask that. You're going to be able to reciprocate back to that same conversation. That's going to make them feel just as special as the day that they started braces. Hyping up, colors. Obviously, for those younger kids, it's all about the colors. So, first thing in the chair, what color are we doing? Do you have a football game? Do you want to match your team? Do you have a favorite NFL team going on? Like being able to just really hype up what's going on. At the end of the day, we get it. It's a mundane appointment, right? Like we're coming in, I'm changing my wires. You're going to tell me I didn't wear my rubber bands for the 20th time because we know I didn't. And so it can become very routine, but just those little touch points, just those little aspects of making them know that they're important, even though they're halfway through treatment or 2/3 the way through treatment, is going to be huge for them. And so just making sure that you have those little pieces. There's not a lot because we want to be efficient, right? We don't want to, expand our appointments in order to make every person feel like a new patient every day, but we can make those little tiny things that are going to stand out and that are going to re-engage them into why they're there and why they chose you as their orthodontic office.
So how would you, like, with the notes and everything, how would you train a team to not go into that autopilot mode during those check-ins? Like you could say, oh, well, you got to do, notes and all of that, but there's some people that are not good note takers. Let's just be honest.
I think whenever you run into a not good note taker, it takes a lot of repetitive accountability, feet to the fire, consistently talking about it. Most practices have a morning huddle. If this is a reoccurring issue, reiterate it time and time again, the importance behind it, not just do your notes, right? Like most people need to understand the why to get to the how. So this is why we have to do this. Make sure that all of your meetings, all of your huddles are always centered around the patient experience and what we're going to be doing. So even in your notes, we're going to have, today's date, what was done, what wire we're in. So special notes or conversation, whatever you want to put so that it's always there. And then they know that they need to put something in there. Even if it's something small, simple, something needs to go in there that you're having the conversation and put that in there. And so I think you can make it the standard of your practice, period, to always be good on notes because they are also the lifeblood of your practice. What did we do last time? What rubber bands? We don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. So making that standardization of making some type of personalized note in there is going to be your standard of care. And then just making sure that it's repetitive, making sure that it's talked about if it is missed. Don't let it get swept under the rug because it is important for those patients to feel that. And so in order for y'all to be able to do that, we have to have those notes.
And like you said earlier, not every time will the same assistant be working with the patient. So you're setting up the rest of the team to be able to make that patient feel like, they're known, that they've been here for, 12 months and they're, blah, 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 blah. Like when they come in, it's not like, oh, we're starting back from square one. It's no, you are still known here. You're still this, that, and the other.
You are
And
valid, you are valued, you are, yes.
I think that's huge because if you don't do that, then they're going to feel like I was just a number today.
Yep.
So how do you balance being efficient with making sure you're still empathetic and present during a visit?
Yeah.
You kind of touched on this, but I wanted to go a little bit further.
Absolutely. Well, I think we go back to notes. I think it's always key on what we did, what we're doing, where we're headed. That's how you stay efficient. We know, The practice I worked at, I can still tell you to this day, our routine. We were either going into an 016 or an 018, and then we were going into a 1425, and then we were going to scan repo, and then we might get back out. I mean, we knew the process and we knew exactly. So we set that standard. Obviously, there are cases that are going to be very different or have different aspects of forces, palatal expander. But the reality is having those notations is what's going to make us efficient. I know exactly what was done at last appointment. I know exactly what we're checking on this appointment. And I should know exactly what wire and or steps are going to be done here. So there's where we get to break down our efficiencies. Whenever we have those efficiencies in place and we have those notes to base ourselves off of, guess what I get to do with the rest of my time while my fingers are in your face and your mouth and all of that? I get to talk to you. So now I get to be empathetic. If you walk in and, you seem like you're down, ask how your day is, or did you have a good day at school? Was it rough? Did you have a test? I mean, this is why having your processes in alignment behind the scenes is so important to remain patient-centric. I can be just as efficient as I want to be, and then all of my extra time, because I'm going to wait on a doctor, right? He's seeing 8 chairs of patients. He's not popping over to me as soon as I turn my light on and raise my hand. So you have that time and use it wisely. So if you're efficient with your notes, if you know what's going on, you have all of those things done, you can sit there and take additional notes and type in what you're talking about from your empathetic side into those notes while you're waiting for that doctor. So that's the reality of it, is empathy and efficiency can go hand in hand, because we know we're going to have time to talk to them. It's a matter of putting forth the effort to do that so that we can be more efficient, putting in the effort to make sure that the notes are in there so that we can direct ourselves into a conversation that allows us to be empathetic within that space.
And for anyone that hasn't experienced that, hasn't built that muscle, it just takes practice. It's like anything else. The more you do it, the more comfortable it's going to feel to take notes, or, to be able to balance both of those things. And the first time you do it, it's not going to be perfect.
Nope. It's not.
You just keep doing it and it's going to get better. It's just like this live stream. We've done it more and more and more, and it's getting better and better and better. It's not perfect, but it's getting better and better.
Yeah. I mean, practice makes permanent, right? So you continue to do it. And it's just going to get easier and easier, more efficient, give you more time to open up for empatheticness. Like, it's just going to continue that way. And there's going to be bobbles along the way. Nobody's going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, even if you didn't maybe remember to put in those personalized notes from the last visit, I can scroll up and maybe look at the visit before, and I can still find something to engage in with that patient. And so while there may be miscues that happen, as long as we are continuing to get that 1% better every day, or put in that 1% effort a little bit more, then we're going to be able to make, like that, like you said, that muscle memory. It's going to become the norm. It's going to become the standard of how you work and how you flow. So it's not going to be perfect, but we can definitely improve it and continue to make it better each time.
I love that. I love that, because if you can get out of your head, you're going to make that patient feel like they are the star. And especially for kids, that's what they want. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. And you might be the only time that that's actually happening during their day.
I mean, the other side of this, I had a child, I have a son that's a senior this year. He was in braces. And I can tell you from a mom perspective, that appointment means more to them than you think it does. I can remember, like, he'd be like, when's my next ortho appointment? When's my, one, he wanted to be done with braces. So
yeah.
And then, 2, like a week before, he started wearing those rubber bands, because he knew his appointment was coming up. But like the day, he's like, oh, I wonder what color I'm going to do. I don't know what color. Like, it consumes them more than we think. They get to get out of school, they get to come to there. And if you've already created this amazing experience, which I was lucky enough to work for the practice that he had, and we had that experience, then they're excited about that appointment. This is not going to get your shots or going to get your blood work. This is going to get new colors and a new wire and a step closer to achieving that perfect smile that you started 6 to 12 months back. So I think if you remember that this is actually more impactful to them than you think, then that makes it a little bit easier to maybe put forth that effort for those notes, or asking those questions, or running along that empathetic side of things.
Let's talk about retention, because retention is huge. but a lot of times it gets overlooked. Why do you think it is such a critical stage of the process?
It is a massive stage. I think sometimes we go, okay, they're done. Not anything bad on that thought. It's like, okay, we've got them done. We've fulfilled our promise, right? Like we have achieved what we set out to achieve. But the reality is, this is a long-term investment, right? They're not done. We know, especially if you work in the clinic, we know that the likelihood of wearing the retainers or winding up back in treatment is really high. I mean, especially the older we get, like, we don't wear retainers, we don't do the things we're supposed to. So I want to make an impact that, one, makes them go, that was amazing. I'm so glad I chose this place. I'm going to continue to wear my retainers because I want to keep this smile forever. Two, I'm going to tell every single person I know to come here because I wasn't just at the end pushed aside and washed aside, or I just walked in the door and they threw my retainers at me and told me to get out and never come back unless my teeth were straight again and I needed more treatment. They set me down. They made sure that they fit. They made a big deal about how great my teeth looked and made me understand the importance of wearing my retainers. And so I want that experience for those around me. And two, on the likelihood or the non-likelihood, we're going to say more likely, that I don't wear my retainers, I want them to come back to me. They don't have, like, I think we forget that. Like, I think that we don't realize they don't have to come back to us for retreatment. They have other options. And so for me, I want, in that worst case scenario that they need treatment again, first thing they want to do is come back to me. They're like, oh, they're going to be so mad at me. They told me to wear retainers. It made a big deal. They told me how great I was. Now I've got to go back and tell them, but I'm going back there because the experience was that great. So retention is the end of treatment, but is not the end of your referral source. It is not the end of their experience with keeping and maintaining their smile and what that means for them in the long run.
I think going at it with not guilt or shame if they have to come back in, I think that's a big point of it.
Oh, huge.
Like, if they feel like, oh, they're going to be disappointed in me and all of that, it's like, why would you face that? You just go somewhere else. But if it's, done in a way where it's like, you're part of the family, we want you here, we want to take care of you, that sets them up for, I really liked, hip orthodontics, and I want to go back there and I want to see Dr. Luke or whatever,
Yes.
It's like you are setting them up for success because you know who they are, what they need, more than some other doctor coming in and having to build a whole new case or whatever on that. But let's talk about, like, helping them finish strong. What are some simple ways to make the end of treatment feel special for the patient?
I think one, it's the overall experience, even from that appointment prior to the debond, whenever you're walking up to go make your next appointment, or if the assistant's making it, like making a big deal about that. Oh my gosh, I can't, we're getting your braces off next time. So even before they actually come in to get in, just making them feel so celebrated. You did such a, they're finishing early. Make sure you acknowledge that, or they're finishing late. Acknowledge that. Hey, you know what? It was, we put in an extra 3 months, but I'm so glad we were able to get you where you wanted to be, and you're so happy. So it starts initially before we ever even take them off, right? We are stoked. We can't wait to do this. And then the day that they come in, like I said, maybe having that board or the person up front knowing that you're there for the debond and making sure that you're expressing how excited you are, and make sure you stop by and come by and see me. As a TC, I would track my patients. And so I would know when they were coming in for a debond, and I would make it a habit to go back to the clinic or run up to the front when they were checking out to go and see the smile that we created from the beginning. And that was a huge aspect. People loved that someone came running back from another office on the other side to come see their smile. And so little things like that are just small and simple. Having obviously, some type of, whether you give them whitening gel for their retainers, or whether you give them some type of debond gift, a t-shirt, a swag bag, something that's exciting, that celebrates everything that they've accomplished and everything that they're going to continue to enjoy from their smile, is huge. I love photos. I love, hey, can I get let me get a picture with you and doctor, like I want to see y'all's picture, or having a photo booth in your front, or even just a really cool accent wall that they're able to do, making it a celebration. I mean, the reality is they've spent a year or longer with you with metal in their mouth, being sore every 6 to 8 weeks, wearing their rubber bands, avoiding their favorite foods, like have some popcorn to give them. I mean, whatever that might be, something that's excited, Jolly Rancher, whatever that may be. Those little things that are going to mean something to them that we can make into a big celebration is huge because that's their experience. So now we've made the amazing experience from the beginning and they did treatment. Now we've got to bring it home. We've got to make it a celebration to really show what all they've accomplished in that time.
So have you found that like doing a celebration, like hitting that finish line, that actually like helped with long-term like loyalty and even maybe like some referrals?
Absolutely. All day long, every day. I mean, that's really your highest form of referrals is how much you made an impact and a celebration out of that because they're going to, you take that picture with the doctor or they post it or you post it on Facebook if they allow, and people see that. And I mean, let's be real. We all know that we live in a world of FOMO, the fear of missing out. So if I'm seeing this on a regular basis and, say I had braces and they didn't do that, they were like, well, congratulations, your braces are off. Make sure you wear rubber bands. We'll see, and then I see someone who's like taking a selfie with the doctor and smiling and cheesing it. And then they go on and rave and review about what an amazing experience it was, or they post on their own social media about how excited it was to get their braces off. Um, then I'm going to think, I wish I would have gone there, right? Or I'm going to take my kid there. Or from now on, I'm going to recommend people, like, even though I didn't go there. So we have fear of missing out. Then you also have them continuously being an advocate for why people should come to your practice. And then that just once again goes back to people will talk about their best experiences. If you make it a true experience, they will talk about it all day long, every day. If it's mundane, if it was just normal, I mean, they're going to be like, yeah, I got my braces off. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But if you make it a big deal, I promise you the referrals will come, the word of mouth will build. People will want to be there. They'll want to experience that. They'll want to celebrate in that same fashion. Everybody wants their teeth straight, and everybody that's an orthodontist can do it. They all went to school and they're capable of. But can you make somebody truly fall in love with having had braces is really the question whenever it comes to that.
I This just popped in my head, making the notes. What if you made a note? It's like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to eat this candy. And they're like, oh my God, Butterfingers are my favorite candy. And I'm assuming you can't eat Butterfingers with braces because
I
they're
mean,
like,
it's not advised. I'm not going to say they don't do it, but I would say that it's not advised.
so, it's like placker on your teeth. Like you're
Yeah.
literally just cementing your teeth. But it's like, oh, they love Butterfingers. Here's a Butterfinger, like on the debonding, it's like, they finally get to eat the candy that they like. It's just little things like that. I think that's kind of the main part of it is like, you know them, you've spent that much time with them, and you're really enjoying the moment of their success, because to get to that part of debonding, it does take a lot of work.
It does. It does. And I've seen offices do it in so many ways. There was a practice I went into, and they actually had like candy machines, and one had Jolly Ranchers, and one had like the big ball bubble gums, and one had, I think Starburst or Laffy Tat, like, and so that they could go and, turn the little thing and get their own and get whatever candy they wanted whenever they got them off. I've seen others where they just keep a stock of mini candy bars like Butterfinger or Snickers, the things that you maybe aren't supposed to have, the Laffy Taffy, the things like that. And you could make that note, like, or even make that a question the day before their debond. What's your favorite
Mm.
candy that you haven't been able to eat since you had braces on? And then you know that in the back, you've got something, you've either got that exact one or you've got something similar. And how impactful would that be that you asked? And now, first thing that I did after I got my braces off was I got to eat a Butterfinger or I got to have a Jolly Rancher. So I think that there's those little things that we know are not super high cost, right? Like go to Sam's or Costco or wherever it is and, buy in bulk the little miniature sized candies and be able to make that small little impact. I had a practice that had a like an actual popcorn machine, like in their practice. So whenever you got your braces off, you got a bag of popcorn. I'm sure all the people that were still with their braces on didn't appreciate smelling it all day, but it was something to drive them to wear their rubber bands because they wanted them off. So I think there's just those small things that you could just do to really make a tiny little difference that will make a large impact in the long run.
So let's talk about the human challenge of all this, like losing sight of the patient. What are some common things that might make it easy to lose sight of the patient journey?
I think we're all human. And I think that we all have stressors and outside pressures and things going on inside of our life. And the human element is very selfish, right? So whenever we're stressed or having a bad day, that can definitely be something that will stem us away from really focusing on the patient. Or maybe we had a really difficult patient, or maybe we had someone who was angry or upset, or maybe like, so there's a million different things. Or maybe, like you said, it's just mundane. I'm putting in another wire today, another wire today. Maybe you saw the exact same patient wire, 5 times in a row. So there's always going to be those things that can affect you and can kind of drive you to like lose sight of why and what we're doing. But I think the reality is we're coming in, and I don't want to say playing a role, because I think we genuinely care. If we're in the orthodontic or dental space, we genuinely care about people. But the reality is I am playing a role, and my role is to take care of every patient and serve them at the highest level. So I have to remove my human aspect from that for that time being and focus on them. And I think that that's sometimes hard to do, but the reality is that's what we're paid to do. That's what we're there to do. It's the reason that we have a job. And if I don't have patients, I don't have a job, and my life is a lot worse. So maybe take a minute, take a deep breath, reassess your situation, go have a drink of coffee, whatever that might be, clear your mind, let go of what you just happened, and take that opportunity to look at that person and realize they could be going through the same thing or something 10 times worse than whatever you may be going through. So step up to the plate and, you know, suck it up a little bit and just make sure that you're really there for them. Because the reality is, life is hard, and we all do carry things and we all do have baggage, but do something that you would want someone to do for you, right? So if I'm leaving work and I've had a bad day and I go, to my appointment or to my grocery store or my, whatever I may be doing, I want someone to have compassion for me because I'm going through something. So take that same thought and put yourself aside and be compassionate for them in that moment. I'm a huge believer in karma. So, what goes around comes around. You put good out, you get good in. So definitely just being able to understand that it's not making you less important. It's not subsidizing your needs or wants or stresses. But the reality is, in this moment, this person's moment, not yours. And we have to be able to be there for them and lift them up and make sure that they're feeling the experience that we promised them throughout what we want to provide within that practice.
And what is kind of exciting with that is when you help other people feel good, you feel good.
You feel so good.
It,
There is nothing better than making a positive impact on another human being and knowing that they're going to carry that throughout that day or even carry it on to the next person. It's a great feeling.
so, last question. At the end of the day, how do you keep yourself focused on the fact that this is work, that the work is about people, not just teeth?
Um, I think the reality is you always should have that forefront of mind. I've never seen teeth walk themselves through a door. So I know that whenever you start to look at someone's teeth, you're going to have to see the face around them and the body attached. So it's very simple to just remember that, we're serving people. We're serving, yes, we are taking care of their teeth. Yes, that is our focus and our job and what we have strived to do. But the reality is, those teeth are nothing without the person attached to them. And the purpose behind them is to create a smile that's lasting and effective for them for the rest of their life. And so, how could we not lose sight of the fact that we are working for people and not teeth? I love teeth, they're great. But if you've ever worked in a dental office and seen extractions, they're not really that great when they're not attached to a person. So keep the people forefront and make the teeth the second priority and ensure that they're taken care of as well.
Well, that is our live stream today. Make sure to subscribe to our weekly podcast, the Grow Ortho podcast, and our Grow Dental podcast to hear more content that can help you grow your practice. And Mark Twain said it best: the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So get out there and get started by making the changes that you want to see in your practice now. This has been Zach
And Melissa.
Thank you for watching the Grow Ortho live stream.
Bye, y'all.